Monday Night Chat with Wong Chen.
Brought to you by the Member of Parliament for Kelana Jaya in collaboration with Invoke.
Hey guys, look who's back! I am back and ready to serve you all. Yes, that's right. You have your community officer back in business, reporting for duty. I am so excited to be part of this new generation of staffs. All I can ask is do be patient with us. I'm taking some time to get back into the job, but thank you so much for being so nice to my other colleagues, Nadira and Tanya. Would like to just quickly say a quick farewell to them. They're awesome and I know they're going to do amazing in whatever they set their mind to in the future. So I'm going to just leave it to Boss right now, I think, and a few other updates along the way. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see y'all when y'all come into the office.
Okay, for Policy Monday this week, we're going to talk about the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or what we call RCEP, a China-led multilateral FTA. I was in Indonesia last week, where I spent 3 days in Jakarta, joining members of parliament from ASEAN region to discuss RCEP and the human rights perspective. Now, there are two types of FTA. As you all may know, I was in the TPP Trans-Pacific Partnership Caucus formed in parliament, whereby I represented the opposition along with my colleagues to give inputs and to debate the issue about the multilateral TPPA. Yeah? So I was invited to Jakarta to basically moderate and also reply as a reactor to the first segment, which was basically where the technocrats came in. There were presidential advisors, Jokovi's advisors in there. There were trade negotiators, there were people from NGOs. So that's what I basically did in Jakarta, just to talk about the Chinese trade agreement. Basically, there are two types of FTA. There's a bilateral, which is a one-to-one between countries, and a multilateral. Now, TPP and also the RCEP is a multilateral agreement, FTA. Now, it's basically all the ASEAN countries plus China, Japan, South Korea, India, Australia, and New Zealand. Yeah. Now, the multilateral agreements are complicated by nature because the issues are always about the same, but primarily these texts, the agreement notes and documents are completely secret from the public, and that there are also controversial issues regarding investor-state dispute settlement, or what we call ISDS, certain clauses for investors' rights, intellectual property rights, labor issues, banking. But today I just want to touch on what we call some points other than the issues about that has the social angle. In particular, I want to talk about strategy and how do we actually negotiate, because this is an ASEAN-led agreement, and ASEAN have different countries at different development stages. At the one extreme you have Singapore, which is fully developed, and at the lower extreme you got Laos and Cambodia, which are extremely underdeveloped. So how is it possible that ASEAN can then negotiate as a bloc? And the way to do it is this. The first thing that ASEAN needs to do is to reactivate the ASEAN cooperation group and make sure that they actually set up some budget to actually look into this FTA very carefully. Second, each individual country should do a cost-benefit study, economic cost-benefit study, micro and macro, and also what's the impact on each industrial sector of each individual countries. And then from there, the bigger countries should then come out with a strategy to protect the interests of Laos and Cambodia, the smaller countries. Yeah, countries are also advised to gear up on trade lawyers. Now, trade lawyers are not cheap, but they are available in Singapore and they are available in Europe and also America. So, but come out and spend, you know, if it needs to be $1 million US, $2 million US to get the trade lawyers in, because you're negotiating with essentially bigger countries that can throw in 100, 200 lawyers at the same time. Yeah. Third is to make sure that you use some game theory and spin it around, because this multilateral agreements is always about one big or a few dominant countries negotiating with many smaller countries. Now, the idea of game theory is the smaller countries will never get their act together to perfect their position. Yeah. So therefore, the smaller countries now have to turn it around and use game theory against the bigger countries, and this you need a mathematician to come out the best outcome for you. Now, as for NGOs, my advice to NGOs is very simple. It's not enough that civil society takes a position. The civil society must actually engage the local business community because in most multilateral agreement, it's the small countries with the local businesses that will suffer in face of big companies such as Wanda from China, or LG from Korea, or Mitsubishi from Japan. So it's always to note that the NGOs must understand that they actually have a lot more in common with the local business than not. Yeah. Now, lastly, can the RCEP succeed? I think as long as the issue regarding Pakistan is unresolved, India will be a stumbling block to RCEP succeeding, because that's the geopolitical play there. As for New Zealand and Australia, we think that both are pro-China at the moment, but the really biggest obstacle is South Korea and Japan, and that's to do with the whole North Korean episode. Therefore, I don't think you will see RCEP resolve anytime soon until the North Korean incident has been diffused or resolved properly. Lastly, a lot of people think I'm anti-China. That is absolutely not true. I'm only concerned about China investments because they have not been fully transparent about their commercial terms. If China comes and expose their commercial terms straightforward, then I have no issue with China's investment in Malaysia. Same with RCEP. The issue here is, I think, rather than giving a very tough stance against the Americans at the TPPA, I'm going to give China the benefit of the doubt, because unlike the TPP had clear, big corporate vested interests. In China's case, the corporations from China are basically still controlled by the Chinese government, as evidenced in the recent capital controls imposed by China on its corporations. Yeah. So therefore, I think the RCEP agreement will have terms which are even less stringent than TPP, and therefore that gives us a chance to negotiate better terms and to come out with a more organic free trade agreement, a multilateral free trade agreement, because ultimately I think China is not really driven commercially on this issue, but they are more for their prestige purposes. That if they succeed signing the RCEP, it is really a sign that they have become a fully superpower. So in that context, I think there is wiggle room for us to gain some advantages. Yeah. So that's it on RCEP. Next week we'll talk about something else. Thank you so much.
Ivan's farewell. Take 2.
Working here, I learned that there are a lot of things that's not as it seems. Like, you would expect that Subang Jaya or Kelana Jaya will have a lot of, be filled with rich people, but no, there are also a lot of urban poor people around here where they really need help. And I also learned that doing like just small projects, like taking a family photo of them, really makes them very happy. It's like those small little things that we take for granted, it's like they don't have a chance to do that in your life, and by giving them that chance, it's really great.
It's been really great to help them. It's been really great to recognize that they are victims of their circumstances, and oftentimes they are not the lazy people that the media and our textbooks stigmatize them to be. These are people who were born with disabilities. These are people who were born with the lack of economic opportunity that most of us have. And that is what touched me so greatly during this internship. So thank you very much for allowing me to serve you. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to feel and to learn and to realize that there are people out there who are not as privileged as us. And that is why we owe them a responsibility to make their lives better.
Or rather bye, because this is my last week as an intern here. I've learned a lot during my time here interning at YB Wong Chen's office. And if you want to know about what sort of stuff I've learned, you can maybe try to intern here yourself next time.
Bye everyone. Elmo says bye as well.
Bye.
Hari ini today free photograph. family. Satu keluarga, mari ke 2 orang ke 3 orang, 10 orang pun boleh. Turun sekarang. Ini fotografer banyak profesional punya. Lampu besar sudah ada. You pakai sari cantik, pakai baju cantik. Turun. Bawah tu. Kumpul itu hall. Kedua tutup tau. 1 jam lagi. Cepat-cepat mari. Nanti sudah basuh saya bagi free punya. Okay ya? Okay brother. Bring the family please. Take a nice photo. Terima kasih.